Hi there. It's Jane here in Bend. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about something that people ask me all the time. And that is about how to have passionate sex or to feel good about the sex we're having when it's not spontaneous. And there are lots of reasons that people are having sex that doesn't feel spontaneous. I got this question from an adorable couple this morning. They're going off birth control and they are, deciding to use condoms instead of birth control pills. So, they need to change up their sex life and how to do that. But they are not the only ones who have this concern. There are lots and lots of situations where we might need to have kind of not so spontaneous sex. And I know that it can feel like maybe it's just too routine if it's, planned, or if, we have to go through a lot of different motions, that it doesn't have the passion that we hope for, or one of the partners maybe feel bad about the fact that we don't, just naturally and easily fall into bed or wherever we are to have some passionate hot sex. And maybe that's been part of your relationship when you were younger or early in your relationship. And now you've got some other things that are keeping you from being able to have that kind of, just spur of the moment, spontaneous sex. So what to do when sex isn't spontaneous, how to make it still good. So some other types of situations that might come up for you where you might need to do some planning around your sex. So one I mentioned already, going off birth control pills and then needing to use condoms. Of course, condoms have their own, set of variables, if you will, because, it can change the sensation for the person who's using the condom, the man in this case. If we're using dental dams or latex panties that some people use for sex, that can also be a way that people are, and I'm thinking about women who have sex with other women, sometimes use these panties that, create safer sex in that situation. But in general, then the feeling of having something happen that you have to do that isn't just what you might have done just without any thinking, right? Where you would have just spontaneously had sex with this person. Another time you might want to or need to have some planning in your sex life is when you have kids around or a baby and you need to get a sitter, or you need to do something in order to allow yourself to have the privacy, enough privacy to have sex. I want to say right now that a lot of us, because we don't have sitters or a lot of privacy, we make sex very brief. We might have even, 5 to 7 minutes. I often mention this in when I communicate here with you, is the national average amount of time that people spend, heterosexual couples spend having sex, 5 to 7 minutes. Some people spend as little as 3 to 5 minutes. So, and this is oftentimes because they don't have, really enough time of privacy to really, really show up for each other and kind of enjoy a longer episode or session. So sometimes we might need a sitter to have a longer episode or session that is actually a turn on for both people. So 3 minutes of sex, or 3 to 5 or 5 to 7 minutes of sex, isn't the amount of time that people in women's bodies, that the she/hers need to be fully turned on and to be enjoying the sex that they're having. It's another topic, but we'll talk about that maybe next week. Another reason that you might need to have a non-spontaneous sex, some planned sex, would be if you have erectile dysfunction. Maybe you are taking the pill that you take once before sex, like a larger dose of Viagra, Levitra, or Cialis. That might be true for you. You might use a cock ring or some kind of a vacuum pump type of a device to help you get an erection. You might use, if you've had some kind of surgery or something like that, prostate surgery, you might use an injection into your penis. I know that sounds horrible, but there are lots of things that people need to do in order to have satisfying sex if they have problems with erectile dysfunction. It also can just be a matter of just enjoying the sex, allowing. There's some people who, kind of get it. We can get in our heads about sex that way as well. But planning and having enough time for sex can be really important for people with that situation too, so that they're not feeling so much pressure, right, about it. Another reason that people might need more timing and planning to have great sex is because one of the people needs to have more time to kind of get turned on. Usually this would be the she, her person who needs time to allow herself so that she can, get in touch with her sexuality and let go of everything else that she's doing. So many women come to me and they say that they're in their head about sex, and that, for that reason, they just actually are really never really experiencing pleasure when they're together with their partner. So all these reasons, one, going off birth control and needing to use some other form of contraception like condoms, and an intervening time when you're deciding that you don't want to be on birth control anymore, and you're, maybe going to have a baby down the road, but don't want that right now. Needing a babysitter, needing some kind of way that you can actually have privacy in your home, or there might be other reasons that you need to have some help so that you can actually be private in your home. Having erectile dysfunction issues that could get in the way of spontaneous sex, or just needing plenty of time to slow down so that you have like a space of time in your day when you can have sex without feeling like everything is crashing in on you. And most of us, let's just be honest here, don't have, like 90 minutes sitting around in our days just willy-nilly. It's not so common that we have big chunks of time where we might just like luxuriate and have sex and enjoy that for a longer period of time, because we run these busy lives. And even if it's not a hugely important thing that we're doing, we might still feel like it is. Like, we got to go to Costco. I feel like I'm constantly talking about Costco. You got to go to Costco. We've got to do, stuff. We have things we have to do. Maybe you haven't got your turkey yet and you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving this week, whatever it is. Okay, so this is the problem. The solution is to acknowledge the problem. Number one, just recognize, okay, this is a thing that we're not used to. In the past, whenever that was, we just would make love, have sex, just like fall into bed together. It was amazing. It was so hot, and just like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. How fun we did that. And it felt really validating to our turn on, and it felt validating to our relationship and to us as sexual people. When that's not happening, it can kind of feel like there's something wrong between us. So my first tip to you is to talk about it and just be like, gosh, it's strange that we have this situation. So it might be, we have a new baby, or we have a toddler, or we're going off birth control, or we have a problem with ED, we have a problem getting turned on. Maybe it's a perimenopausal situation or a postmenopausal situation where you've gone through menopause and now you don't get wet the way you did when you were premenopausal. And so you need more time to allow your body to relax, to allow yourself to, apply lubricant or something else. So these are, you have the conversation. Number one, acknowledge what's going on, and do it without, do it kind of in a fun and friendly way, because this is a normal part of life. So just like, noticing that we've had some changes in our sex life and that we need to create more space for it right now, without, being clinically kind of like, oh my gosh, we've got a problem with our sex life. That's not the truth. You're playful. You have available to you all the fun things that you always had. You're just creating a little bit more time for it and a little bit more planning. You can still add in the spontaneous element by doing something like having a condom in your purse if you're the woman, maybe in the place on your phone where you might keep your credit cards. You could have a condom there. You could also, if you're that person who wants to, use a condom for various reasons, you could have a little bit of lube there as well in a packet. You can buy packets of lube. You can also, if you're somebody who needs to use lube, there's a really good product called Love My Pulse that you can get. I'll put the link to it here, which is a way to have kind of lube at the bedside that is available to you. It's heated. You put your hand under it. It kind of looks like a hand sanitizing kind of a contraption, and that you can use lube easily. Then if you're somebody who needs to use lube, if you're somebody who has, these other kind of challenges in your life, I think the most important piece though is to recognize that It doesn't mean that you don't love each other or want each other. It doesn't mean that you aren't going to have passionate sex. And I'll end with the story of the restaurant here in Bend called Ariana, which is this 5-star restaurant, and they have a beautiful tasting menu. And I often say to people who are kind of resistant to the idea of planning sex in any of these cases, that if you want to go to Ariana for the tasting menu, you need to get a reservation weeks, if not months in advance, depending on when you want to go. And then you'll be able to go. So this is kind of it's analogous with that, my idea around like, this is your great sex that you're planning. It's a beautiful meal. You don't get to do it spontaneously. If you run over there and say, hey, we want to eat here tonight, they won't have a seat for you for that special meal. Now, that doesn't mean every single time you eat, you need to eat at Ariana. It's an expensive restaurant, kind of a special occasion thing. But the point being that when you want something that's going to be really beautiful like that, it's okay to make plans for that. And if it's okay to make plans for that, it's also okay to make plans for your sexual connection. So just saying to each other, we're going to be planful. We're going to create some time for ourselves. We're maybe going to be adding a couple things into our sex life, like condoms, like, some of the things I talked about for ED. It doesn't have to be like horrible if you're adding these things in. What matters is your energy. You're showing up for each other. You're opening your energy. To me, sex is all energy. It's all about how we open our hearts and our bodies to another human being and allow ourselves to really feel them and be with them in that moment or series of moments. When that's happening, you will experience passion. Passion and connection are what we're looking for. It's not some kind of a series of sexual activities that, kind of mechanically create a response. For a lot of us, we do kind of desire these series of mechanical activities. But I want to tell you that when you get past that and realize that there aren't there aren't boxes to check, so to speak, it's just you and your partner showing up for each other playfully, lovingly, and openly. And when you do that and you let them know that you realize that things have changed a little bit, you're going to be having these other things, make it kind of fun. You don't have to have everything be, too serious. Playfulness is always welcome. And, do that in these different situations. So that's my suggestion for today. I hope that you have a fabulous Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.